Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a conversation between the director of a drama school and a parent named Maggie. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
Hi, my name's Maggie. I think I spoke to you yesterday about coming in to see you about the drama classes.
Oh, yes. Hi. How can I help you?
We're new to the area, and I'd like my children, Terry, Andrea, and Jasmine, to join the drama classes. They love acting, singing, and dancing, and they're very energetic. And I also thought it would be a good way for them to make friends.
Oh, yes. We offer dancing and singing as well as acting classes. And the club's a good place for everyone to meet new people. We have different social and family groups, and everyone here is very friendly.
Great. Can I just ask you some questions about the drama classes?
Yes, sure. What would you like to know?
What classes are there and when are they held?
Well, during the week, we have classes for different age groups. By the way, what ages are your children?
Terry's 8, Andrea's 12, and Jasmine's 16.
Well, for the youngest age group, those aged 7 to 11, the times are 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday evening. And for those aged 12 to 15, between 4 and 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening. And for those 16 and above, it's 6 to 8 p.m. on Friday evening.
Is there anything at the weekends?
Yes, we also have workshops on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., but they're usually for older members, 18 and above. We also have social outings to theatres at discount rates, so it's possible for whole families to come. We even get free theatre tickets at times, which we announce on our website.
Oh, that's good to know. And what about school holidays?
Well, during the holidays, we run summer camps for young people up to the age of 16. These usually run from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. They are combined with the youth club activities and run during August.
And what about performances?
For each level, we aim to have at least one show a year in the summer. There is no pressure for anyone to perform, but we do encourage everyone to get involved one way or another, either acting or behind the scenes. Usually, everyone is really enthusiastic to take part.
Is it possible to have a look around?
Yes, sure. The building's used by other groups. We have no changing facilities, just a large room with lockers where people can put their things if necessary. But we advise people to come dressed for the workshops, in loose clothing and trainers.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10.
Can my kids join immediately?
Yes, they can. We always ask people to come and have a go first of all. Children usually come to meet new people and then want to come back, even the shy ones.
That's a good sign. Is there a fee?
There's a joining fee of £14 a year per person, and then there's a separate fee for the Saturday workshops, but they're usually very cheap. It's just to pay the workshop trainer, as we survive on small grants and gifts.
OK. I think I'd like to bring the children along.
Great. What's your full name and address?
My name's Maggie Campbell.
Is that CAMPBELL?
Yes.
And the address?
It's 133 Arbuthnot Drive. I'll spell it. It's ARBUTHNOT.
And the postcode?
It's RV27 8PB.
And the children's names again?
Terry, he'll come for the Tuesday class, so that's the 17th of March. And Andrea, she'll come for the class on the 18th of March. And Jasmine on the 20th.
Can I take a mobile number?
It's 07700 336 601.
And your email address?
It's MA.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear an introductory talk about a countryside and woodland programme. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17.
Good morning, and welcome to the Moorland Countryside and Woodland program. I'd like to give you some information about the program and the short courses we run for people on woodland awareness. We're actually a program run by volunteers, and we were set up 15 years ago to educate people of all ages and backgrounds about the wonders of our woodlands and hence nature itself. And for the past 5 years, we've been taking groups of youngsters in their teens on educational trips on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. From schools, mainly from around the area, but some have come from much further afield. At first, some youngsters are not very impressed by the setting, because we discourage them from using any electronic devices, especially smartphones, so they can engage more with the surroundings. This throws them quite a bit. But almost without exception, by the end of the 3 days they're here, the young people don't want to leave and want to come back again. In fact, 2 of the workers here came with student groups 5 years ago. And when they left school, they came straight to work for us. The program is completely self-sufficient, due in part to the sales from the plant nursery and also to donations. but the bulk of our income's now from running the educational and awareness courses. This is a basic map of our center. We're here at the entrance, and you can see the cabins running along the east side of the path as you go north. The first cabin, Beach Lodge, is for students. It's quite large and can accommodate 10 students in bunk beds. Then the next 4 cabins are for families, and the cabin after that, Chestnut Lodge, is for teachers, which can hold up to 4 adults. On the west side of the path, directly opposite the family cabins, are the educational facilities. They're quite up to date with all the latest wizardry. And next to that's the cafeteria, which is shared with visitors to the center. Just beside the cafeteria is a family area with climbing frames for children. We don't allow open-air cooking here because of the trees. The plant nurseries, that area you can see that runs all the way along the north part of the map.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20.
If you go over here, between the family area and the nursery, the path leads to the woodland itself. We're on a hill here and quite high up, and as there's some spectacular scenery around here, we have breathtaking views of the countryside. You can see the river stretching for miles through rolling countryside. Fortunately, the whole woodland is protected by law, so nobody can chop down any trees. The landscape here is not changed for hundreds of years. Some of the trees have been growing here rather a long time, and the aim of the scheme and the volunteers is to keep it that way. We advise people to stick to the paths because it's very easy to get lost. As you walk through the woodland, you'll see workers removing dead wood and trees. I'd ask everyone not to remove anything like seeds or flowers from the woodland so we can try and conserve it for future generations.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear 2 students talking about a research project they have to do together. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24.
Hi, Mark.
Kirsty, hi. So, we've got this research project to organise. I really like the idea of doing it on the allotment gardens opposite the college. Brilliant idea of yours.
Oh, not really. I walk past there every day and see people working on little plots of land, growing their own food, and I thought it'd be interesting to find out more about it.
Great. So, we'd better decide who's doing what in terms of gathering some background data.
Right. I thought we ought to do 2 things. do some background reading, then actually go and interview some of the people involved.
Sure. I guess we could start by looking into why the allotment gardens are there, whose idea it was, when they were established, etc., looking at historical records.
Well, I've already discovered that it was a national programme in the 1920s, so our local one would have been a part of that. I guess we could look at local records to see why this particular site was chosen.
OK, I'll do that then. I guess it was wasteland or something. There's quite interesting geology and soils round here, actually.
Oh, I don't think we need to go into all that.
Oh, OK.
But what you could do is find out what the terms and conditions are for the gardeners. Do they pay rent? Do they have a contract, etc.?
Well, I think you can ask them that. We don't need to research it ourselves.
Yes, you're right. But I did read a newspaper report that said the site was under threat of development. You know, somebody wants to build housing there.
Really? Now that is interesting. I could look to see whether anyone's applied for permission to the local council's planning office.
Exactly.
OK, great. Right then, I guess we need to ask somebody if it's OK before we go over there and start talking to people.
Yes. The land belongs to the city council and somebody there manages it. I'll give them a call.
Great. He should be able to give you a plan of the site too.
Yes, and maybe some indication of who amongst the gardeners it might be best to approach, like who's been there the longest or whatever.
Yeah, OK. It might be good to have an introduction rather than just approaching them out of the blue, actually.
I agree. Then I thought I ought to check out any other research there's been on the subject.
Yes, that's true. We don't want to do stuff that's already been done.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
Have you got any idea what we should actually focus on in our research?
Well, I think it's a choice between a survey about use, how many people use the land, how often they go, how productive it is, you know, or something more attitudinal, like what motivates people to do it, what they get out of it, what difference it makes to their lives.
Yes, I like that. Let's go with that. But what about issues, disputes between the gardeners, difficulties they have with the management, things like that?
Well, I don't think we can make that our aim. There may not be any problems.
Yes, you're right. Let's stick to the attitudinal focus then.
OK.
I think the next stage is to do some preliminary work. Find out if we can get permission, see if anyone will talk to us, whether there are any specific issues we could focus on.
Well, shouldn't we consult our tutor before doing all that? Get the go-ahead for the topic in principle?
Well, she said specifically not to do that. To go to her once we had a definite proposal, with the details in place.
OK, let's do that then. I think that's going to be the hardest part.
What, writing the proposal?
No, finding what level of detail to go into. You know, we could interview lots of people and try and find their overall views, or just pick a few and really do in-depth interviews with lots of questions.
I think you're right. But I think once we start, we'll see what's going to work best with this particular context.
OK.
Actually, there is one issue we could look into.
Really?
Yes. There's a particularly invasive wild plant species that grows around here. The college gardener said it's really hard to get rid of, and it makes growing other stuff difficult. I'm sure the gardeners on the allotments must have a problem with it. It's called creeping buttercup.
OK. What does it look like?
Well, there are two types actually. Bulbous buttercup, which is not a problem, and creeping buttercup, which is. To tell the two apart, you have to look at the flowers. They are identical with yellow petals, but the creeping buttercup doesn't have little leaves which point downwards just under the flower. They're called sepals, whilst the bulbous buttercup does.
OK.
And then it has polygonal-shaped leaves, rather than triangular-shaped leaves. So, if the leaf is divided into 5 sections rather than 3, then it's the creeping buttercup.
Right.
Both plants have a long stem, which grows out of a bulb, which is below ground. But only the creeping buttercup sends out new stems from the base, which creep along the ground. And these are called stolons. It's these things which make the plants such a problem.
Interesting.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear an ecologist talking about how levels of biodiversity are calculated. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Today, I'm going to be talking about the work of scientists who have the job of trying to calculate the level of biodiversity in rainforest areas, particularly in those places where only small areas of forest remain, surrounded by land which has been cleared for human exploitation, usually farming. It is well known that deforestation has a directly detrimental effect on many species of animals by destroying their habitats. However, in all of these ecosystems across the world, the wildlife that remains, even in pristine, untouched habitat, is under threat due to the effects of a process known as fragmentation, in which one large forest gets broken up into many smaller areas. This is very bad news for wildlife for many reasons. Firstly, small areas of rainforest don't have the same volume of vegetation as larger areas, and so provide less of the food, in particular fruit, needed to support complex ecosystems. This means it can support fewer plant-eating animals, and even fewer of the large animals which prey on them. Secondly, large animals need large territories, but they also need access to the territories of other populations of their own species. Unfortunately for many species of land animal, a piece of forest a kilometre away on the other side of a cattle farm may as well be on the other side of the world because it can't cross the farmland. This leads to a reduction in genetic diversity. Finally, another problem occurs when a large proportion of a rainforest habitat is bordering farmland. This is known as the edge effect. Farming practices change the quality of the habitat where it meets the forest, affecting the amount of light and shade and the temperature. Evidence of this can be found in poor tree growth and the absence of many animal species up to 100 metres in from the forest edge. Additionally, rainforest bordering farmland is more likely to attract hunting parties. Often, it is the biggest species that are absent in these small areas of rainforest. Large grazing mammals, which need a lot of land and vegetation, like elephants, or those at the top of their food chain, like lions. However, small animals are also vulnerable, especially if they rely on a very specific diet. Indeed, many of the most endangered species in the world are small animals that live a fragile existence. Assessing biodiversity starts with trying to work out how many species there are in an area, and estimating how many individuals there are of each species based on how many you find. The most basic method is to simply walk through a habitat and keep your eyes and ears open for the animals themselves or signs of them. This works for noisy animals such as monkeys, or birds with identifiable nests, or creatures with predictable hiding habits such as some snakes. Despite being simple, this technique does need careful consideration. Timing and location are everything. Trapping methods are useful for a wide range of different animals which are harder to spot. Small ground-dwelling animals such as rodents and frogs can all be assessed with traps. For example, a temporary fence is put up, usually a long sheet of plastic. In trying to get around it, the animals fall into buckets dug into the ground. These have a layer of soil and leaves at the bottom, and the animals stay there until they can be checked, recorded, and released. Flying species such as bats and low-flying birds can be trapped using fine nets called mist nets. For those animals that are elusive and more difficult to trap, camera traps are great for determining the presence of that species, but are unlikely to be able to provide a good estimate of the number of individuals in a population. For those animals that can be caught, a microchip can be inserted under the skin so it can be identified if caught again. Calculating how many captures are actually recaptures provides an estimate of how many of that species there are in total.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.